You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Well, it is never too early to talk a little college football. And our friends over at DraftKings did us a great service. Now with the spring transfer portal window closed and the next round and wave of players jumping ship and roster alignment and realignment having happened, DraftKings updated their point spreads for major college football games for 2024. Now, I want to be very clear. I know not everybody loves to sports bet. That's okay. This isn't a sports betting segment, okay? I know a lot of you do. I do. But this isn't a sports betting segment. What this hopes to serve is the idea of what Vegas is thinking about certain teams at this point on the calendar. And the reason that's relevant, obviously, is Las Vegas doesn't have a bias. Las Vegas didn't go to Old State U. Las Vegas doesn't care about your rival. They don't hate your team. Las Vegas cares about one thing. Paul, can you go to the wide shot, please? Las Vegas cares about the color of this entire studio right now, which is green. All they care about is money, okay? That's it. They're objectively setting line. So I will always put more credence in what Las Vegas says than some type of like analyst or fanalist or prognosticator or college football expert or anything else. Let me remind you, Desmond Howard a couple of years ago picked Texas A&M. Who else was in that playoff that he picked? Pitt? Wasn't Pitt in there?
I was about to say, I believe it was Pittsburgh, yeah.
Pitt, Texas A&M. Yeah, that guy won the Heisman. He sits on game day every day. Desmond's great. I'm not crushing him. It's just we get it wrong a lot. Vegas, I want to run through what I think are some of the most surprising lines. First, though, DraftKings listed 7 LSU football spreads. And LSU was favored in all but one of them. The only one that they were an underdog, surprisingly enough, at Texas A&M. Tigers are a 3-point underdog in College Station. Part of the reason that's so surprising, A&M, of course, fired Jimbo Fisher. You have Elko coming in, but they lost 31 players to the portal, A&M did. And these aren't just like pedestrian guys. Like, Texas A&M lost dudes. Walter Nolan might be the Outland winner this year on the defensive line. Fadil Diggs, they lost. I mean, you're talking about Bryce Foster, who was their starting center. Evan Stewart, who's a great wide receiver, who's headed to Oregon. Jacoby Matthews, who's a 5-star safety. Of course, starting safety Jordan Gilbert's now in Baton Rouge. Point being, they lost a ton, yet still Vegas pretty high on Texas A&M. If you're wondering about the other LSU spreads, 6-point favorite against Southern Cal out in Vegas. Interesting game late September when LSU is at home against Ole Miss. Tigers a 2.5-point favorite against the Rebs, who should be undefeated and eyeing a playoff run this season. LSU an 8-point favorite at Arkansas, a 1-point home favorite against Alabama, 5.5-point favorite at Florida in the Swamp. And then the regular season finale at home against Oklahoma, LSU, a 5-point favorite in that game against the Sooners. Of course, all of those will shift and edit as the season goes along and as we learn more about teams as they play. But it is a good sort of indicator of what the odds makers think about LSU today with the roster they have, the coaching staff they have, against the schedule they play, with the season getting closer and closer and closer. We'll see how much the roster might continue to evolve between now and the start of the season. It's a pretty good indicator that Vegas is pretty high on LSU. Notice you didn't see any of the other non-conference games. You didn't see the UCLA game on there as well. But that's a pretty good indicator of how LSU might be looking starting off here in the there was no Vanderbilt game on there as well as they head toward the 2024 season. I did run through this, and I wanted to jump into some other surprising point spreads nationally that I saw from DraftKings. Muse, can you give me a little college football music, please, as we get into this here? As I do, I am a fan. I'm a big fan of the Big Ten on CBS theme song. So thank you for choosing that one, Muse. It's a great song. What? Don't you staring at me? I'm sorry. Is that not the Big Ten on CBS theme song?
It is.
It is.
It is.
It is.
It's the CBS college football theme.
Really?
They use it for a lot of different games.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I see you've conceded there, Muse.
Well, you called it the Big Ten on CBS theme. They have other games that go on CBS, so
Do I need to pull up the tape where you yelled at me? It's the SEC on CBS. Blah, 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 blah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, remember, digital era. Everything is recorded.
Everything.
All right, I got 5 games. The point spread stood out to me. Here's the first one. Whenever you're ready, Muse.
Make it 5.
Number 5. How about Texas A&M? I went chronologically, by the way. August 31st, A&M a 2-point favorite over Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a consensus preseason top 10 team, and many think a college football playoff lock. A&M lost 31 players to the portal. It is pretty clear, at least early here, that the odds makers, they like them some Mike Elko. Hit it, Muse. Yeah,
4.
there we go. How about a couple of teams that were in the playoff a year ago? Texas of the SEC going to Ann Arbor to take on the defending champs. Sharon Moore. Should be beautiful weather up there in Ann Arbor on September the 7th. How about this? Texas, a 3-point favorite at Michigan. It may sound surprising that Texas would be favored in the Big House. However, Michigan, of course, had 13 players drafted. The 7th least returning production, meaning only 6 teams in all of college football return fewer starters or fewer production this year than the defending champ Michigan Wolverines.
3.
Oh, that was the, how do you get to the center of a Tootsie...
Tootsie Pop, yeah.
Tootsie Roll, Tootsie Pop, yeah. Number 3 on my list is a game that is going to involve... What do I have? Oh, sorry, I went out of order. My bad. See, that's what I get for trying to scroll this thing as well. How about the Vols heading down to Norman for the first time? And Tennessee is a 5-point road dog to Oklahoma. Nico there from Tennessee, new quarterback, a projected Heisman candidate by many. Oklahoma, their win total in Vegas over under 7.5. So the odds makers aren't thinking much of Oklahoma. Apparently, they think even less of Tennessee.
Number 2.
Do you know the last time Alabama was an underdog at Bryant-Dennehy Stadium?
Oh, man. Shot in the dark here against Georgia in 2008.
That was in Athens.
Oh. What was the one that... 2007, Georgia. Well, no, because they would have been against LSU, too. Oh, wait.
Show ends at 6, Muse.
I can't... It wasn't last year against Texas. No, I don't know then. Those are my 3 guesses.
The last time Bama was a home underdog, November 3rd, 2007, when LSU beat them 41-34. That's the last time Alabama was an underdog inside of Bryant-Dennehy Stadium. Georgia heads to Bryant-Dennehy Stadium this year as a 4.5-point favorite. How about that? Could be some big-time history in T-Town if the Bulldogs show up and maintain their favorite status for that game.
1.
And the last one, I got to scroll all the way to the bottom because it's the last weekend. It's a game that we're going to see a rivalry renewed that we haven't seen since 2011. Texas and Texas A&M. Game in College Station, but this is one, although the odds makers like the Aggies an awful lot. Texas, a 4-point road favorite in College Station against Texas A&M. The last meeting in 2011 when Texas won 27-25 to kick the Aggies out of the Big 12. There you have it. Muse, any I missed that you thought stood out?
So I agreed with you on on Tennessee and Oklahoma. It's going to be Oklahoma's first conference game, too. Mm-hmm. Both teams with new quarterbacks. That is interesting. And then one that kind of jumped to me, it might be a little bit off the beaten path, but Kansas State, a 6-point road favorite at Colorado. Kansas State's got a new quarterback.
Yeah.
They got new receivers.
Yeah.
They got a new secondary that's
Yeah.
going to have to face Shadur Sanders on the road. And they're a touchdown favorite? Okay. All right.
Ain't nobody believing in Coach Prime.
Man.
All I know is last year I told you I'll bet the farm on Colorado over 3.5. Cashed that ticket early, and then they didn't win again.
No, they didn't. No. But you cashed the ticket, and that's all
But
that
I
matters.
cashed
You
the
said
ticket.
over 3, or what was it, 3.5?
3.5.
Yeah. They got to 4.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.